This is a 2008 model CBR 1000 powered Mitch chassis sidecar, Speedway sidecar.
Okay, and with Speedway sidecars, what is a sidecar? So, for the people that don't know, you're currently sitting on a three-wheeled motorbike essentially, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. You've got obviously a front wheel that steers, and you've got a chair wheel that you can run a bit of toe in and toe out on, and then you've got your rear wheel that's adjustable forwards and backwards as well. And the only suspension you have on a Speedway bike normally is just in the front end.
Right. So, can you currently take off the panels and show me what actually is underneath the sidecar? So, you're removing what they call the seat at the moment.
Yep.
And the two bike competitors, how long are they on the seat for? Just at the start of the race, or?
Yeah, in your starting position off the line, both rider and passenger will be up on the seat, but then rider obviously will predominantly be seated, and he'll drop his knee into the kneel tray, and then your passenger swings around and grabs down on their handlebar there, and their handlebar in the seat, and we've got a little foot holster back here, where the passenger will lock his foot in, and that's where I'll lock my foot in.
Yep.
And then we all do our business down this side of the bike.
And that's the grab handle you're referring to for the passenger?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, and in regards to your motor, you said it was a 2008 Honda motor?
That's right.
Okay, and is that found in a street bike?
Yeah, all your, most of your CBR 1000s, from everything from 2008 to your later model, 2021 sort of, that's what will be powering a lot of your Honda bikes these days. There's obviously your fuel tank there.
And how big is your fuel tank? Like
that one's actually big enough for 2 races. But because I've got this little void that goes in front of the wheel there. Right. You see that? But normally people only will have enough in there for 1 race. But yeah, I don't ever want to run out of fuel, come a restart or anything like that. So I just always wanted that little bit of extra volume in mine. And here's your slots here where you can adjust your back wheel backwards and forwards.
So what does moving the wheel forward in the chainstay do?
It makes it drive harder. It makes the bike a little bit more twitchier. And there you got obviously there's your drive chain and your sprocket. You can change your sprockets to different tracks you go to and whatnot. And down this side here, there's your fuel pump and your battery. Fuel pump obviously supplies the carburetors with fuel, and the battery powers everything. It's all tucked away in there.
So you said before that's a 2008 model motor, but you're running carburetors.
Correct.
So why do people tend to run carburetor style setup in a Speedway application?
Well, there's a few reasons. Like it's very basic in a way where there's only so many things that can go wrong with being on carbies. It sort of takes a lot of the zip out of these late model engines. They're very zippy on the injection, where this just makes them more torquey and more user friendly as riding. I've got a set of 37s on my bike with the big ITG, big air filter system on it. And,
so when you say 37, you mean the actual internal diameter?
Diameter of the carburetors, just right. You can get 39s, you can get 41s. It just obviously increases your airflow and everything like that. 37s is good for bottom end to mid-range power. And you've got the fuel regulator there. There's the black box there. And there's your regulator rectifier that obviously returns power back to the battery. It's all sort of nice and neat and all fits in there neatly.
So I see with your bike, you're one of the bikes that I get to be around a bit, and I've noticed that everything has its place. Why is that?
Well, the way I see it, if it doesn't need to be there, piss it off, because it's just extra weight. It's only going to slow you down, so these things are built to just go 100% full bore every second on the track, and you want to get the most out of it. So it doesn't have to be on there. Normally, yeah, she'll go in the bin. So.
Talk about some of the electronics set up on the bike.
Yep.
So you referred to before your black box. So for people that don't really understand motorbikes as such, what is your black box?
That's that thing right there. It's pretty much the brains when it comes to everything. It tells the cylinders when to fire. And yeah, with this particular system, I've got a switch up here. You can, obviously it's got a setting where it's on off now, but if I switch that on, I can retard my engine 8 degrees in the ignition. And these are fully programmable. You can plug it into the laptop and you can play with all sorts of things. We change all your curves, your power, and how it all delivers to everything. So,
and in regards to that, why would you make the bike not have as much timing? What does that do on the track?
Retarding it can help you. Obviously, if it's really slick, put the power to the ground. But a lot of you can go the other way. You could advance it, and it all depends on the gearing you want to run, how much wheel speed you want to have, to a lot of things. So it's I've sort of found a sweet spot, and this is what I've done, and it's one of those things. Some people set them to get it. Some people, that's their go-to to when it comes to being at the track, what they'll change. So.
And when we're talking about power delivery, I've noticed with your tyre, they're exactly the same as what they call a Speedway Solo.
Yeah.
And you were saying the front tyre. What type of tyre is that?
It's a trial thing, Bridgestone. They're very popular. Not too many people venture away from that.
And why that front tyre in particular? Does it give you a particular type of steering, or
it's
just what it is?
With these chassis, they're sort of built around an 18-inch front wheel, 18-inch chair wheel, 19-inch rear. So you sort of then once that gets to a certain age on the front, you put it on the chair. You get a little bit more longevity out of tyre life. Because I'll do probably 5, maybe 6 meetings with it on the front. Some people turn them, some people just retire it to the chair. And 9 times out of 10, mine will just retire to the chair. Because you don't want too much of a bite in the chair. A little bit warm one will sometimes work more in your favour.
So explain to me what the purpose of the chair wheel is. Like, what does it do?
Sidecar is, without one, you'll have a hard time getting around the corner, obviously. But I run my bike very tippy. I try and keep as little weight in the chair as possible. Down the straights, you want that thing floating. To me, if it's on the ground, it's slowing you down. So keep it as light as possible, and you tend to carry more speed everywhere you go. So.
And explain to people what you mean by tippy, because I've been on one of these and I know they're kind of like a lollipop at low speed.
Yeah.
But, when you say tippy, does that mean more manoeuvrable for you?
Yeah, it makes it way more agile. You can change directions a lot quicker. It's one of those things. And each to their own. Some people run a bike that's very flat, and it's the complete opposite. And I find, I've been a passenger for 11 years or so, and it just means more work in some ways. Where these things are built to go around corners, and the more tippy they are, the easier it is to get around a corner. And it's got to be hard. It's not got to be like a walk in the park. We're dealing with 180 horsepower and bloody 180 kilos of bike and a couple of men climbing away.
And we'll get back to the rear tyre. So what we're trying to explain before is they're meant for a Speedway Solo bike, which is a lot lighter, a lot less horsepower, the whole thing. So I've noticed with these tyres, there are a lot of tyre blowouts and things like that. So what do you do to try and curve that?
Well, everything you keep an eye on. You don't run them too low. Obviously, that's a big help. But you know, screws in the side of it and these rubbers. That's your next best thing. And I know people that actually physically glue their tyres to their rim too, so they can get away with running even lower tyre pressures. But I'm not one of those people. You know the bloke that I'm talking about, old Killer,
I do.
In Brisbane there.
And I find too, when you run lower tyre pressures, you find that your sidewall does a lot of moving and a lot of scrunching.
There won't be too many times where I won't come in and have stretch marks in the sidewalls of these tyres, you know. So. But you know, like it's like anything, you can only take so much punishment and it gives up. So like being built for a solo, purely in doing what we do to them, like I say, it's bound to happen. It could be a defect in the tyre, it could be obviously you're just asking too much out of it. And, a big truck like Tama especially, you know, it's 3 or 4 laps around here. It's pretty hard on the gear. Go to North Brisbane, you know, I popped 2 tyres when I was there last, and yeah, it was just turning them on the bead, on the rim, and pulling the valve and stuff like that.
So I find too that sometimes when the track is what they call slick, which means it's quite dusty, there's not a lot of grip. I find that the tyres are very warm to touch with your hands. Is that because you're constantly, it's hard to explain, but you're not grabbing and going, it's a lot of wheel spin.
That's right, yeah. So it's one of those things that you can be caught out, you know. If your wheel's spinning too much, you're not going forward. So you want that, you need it to spin to a certain extent, so because you get these things sliding and in a drift in a way to get around a corner.
Right.
But you don't want it spinning to the point where you're just throwing dirt over the fence and you're not going forward. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's a part of the art, so it's all part of the fun too. So.
Uncle Dave, what we have here.
Morris, so show me what you're going to be doing at the moment. Like, explain to me what you've got there.
On some of these older bikes, what you do is you have a sprocket, and they usually go into these bolt holes. Okay. Now there's another called a quick action hub, which is just like a little hub with the sprocket already bolted onto it. And what happens, that is actually connects on into here. So when you actually take the back wheel out, you don't have to worry about saving minutes of taking a sprocket out. What you do is you take the back wheel out, take the sprocket off, change your wheel or turn it around, pop it back in, do your back wheel up, and that's it.
Okay, and this sidecar's got that set up on it now, is that correct?
What we try to explain is that, as Tim said, so what happens is that spacer there actually holds that whole sprocket on.
Right.
And all you're doing is once that you loosen that all out, it loosens it up. Even though if you can stand here and the sprocket will be still loose, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
But it's firm, it won't move any further than that, because what it does, it fits into these little slots in here, and that's what holds it all together.
Right. And the importance of that is when you're racing, you're only ever using an edge of the tyre, is that correct?
Yes. With the sidecar, we're only using most probably the middle to that side, or just the middle.
So when someone says they're turning a tyre or rotating the edge, what exactly are they talking about?
What they mean is that you've got your tyre like this, so as you can see, this is, I just got to think myself now, is that we're wearing one side of the tyre, right? So when we come back in, what we do, that's all we do. Swap the tyre over, or in Timmy's situation, what we do is we actually change the whole wheel altogether.
Okay, cool.
And as you know yourself, you only got about 2 minutes to do it, or 3 minutes to do it at that.
Right. Like we were saying before, we were talking about sidecar chair wheel and that. I've noticed with the chair wheel, as I'm standing front on, it's got what they call a lot of camber.
Yeah.
Right? And through the night you can also change your toe in, toe out, is that correct?
That's right, and you can move spaces around on the axle as well, which space the wheel in and out. And yeah, this is actually off, it's not straight out of that axis, so you undo these pinch bolts here and you can spin that, and that's what changes your toe in and your toe out.
Right, and that gives you quite a, in a road car, that's a wheel on the thing, and obviously with these it's the same. So if if you find the track being a certain way through the night, you can obviously do you make adjustments to your chair wheel much, or is it something you try to avoid?
Well, honestly, all the years I've been racing, it's been 5 or 6 years now. I've played with spacing the chair wheel in and out. I haven't really touched the toe in and toe out of it. Some people are lucky. They live in a town where they got people that have all the know, and every time I have touched it or played with it, I've sort of gone backwards. So I've always returned back to where I've got it. Just seems to be a sweet spot for me. So yeah, it's one of those things I don't play with too much, but yeah. So I must have done something right when I first put it together. It's like you say, it seems to definitely be in a bit of a sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly. It seems to suit you. You don't seem to be fighting the bike the whole time. What am I looking at now, Holmes?
Well, you got everything from here's your radiator, there's your little overflow bottle in there. You got a fan on the back side of your radiator. There's your your filler cap, and then you got your gear leader here.
So explain to me how your gear shifts work and what gears you use in a race.
Well, I'll use second and third, and I'll do the start in second and change into third and do the rest of the race in third. And my foot will go from being here over the top of the gear lever to over against this little foot thing here, so I can either load up or unload the chair wheel myself.
Right, you can transfer your weight to that.
That's right.
What you like.
Correct.
Okay, and why only second and third gears?
Well, some people run first and second. It's all just personal preference. The gearbox in these later model engines are pretty tough. Second and third, you get a good, because first gear in a lot of bikes is really short. Second gear, you have a bit more out of it. So running second and third, it's two longer sort of gears. So you get a good run into the first corner, and you can do your gear change early or late. You got depending on who's beside you and what's happening at the time, you can choose when to do your gear change, and that's all part of the fun as well.
Go right, Brisbane. Oh, down right across the board there. The red got a good start out there. Scotty going hard.
Here we are right now looking at the battery setup, and it looks to be one of those dry cell style batteries. Is that the correct term for it? Or not?
Yeah, I think so. She's an Odyssey. You honestly can't get a better battery, that's in my opinion. And you've got your fuel pumps alongside that, and then up here you've got a switch for the fan, the radiator, and then here I've actually got my fuel system actually on the plug, so I plug that in, and then that'll be running. And then you've got the fuel switch up here, and I've got an oil pressure light. So when I first plug it, that's all the way through. So when I plug my fuel system in, that light will come on, you see the light's not running, I'm at fuel pressure. And then once it starts, that goes out, and your kill switch, it just works off of this cuts the ignition, and it goes in between there, pulls that out, doesn't have contact, pull that out, it has contact, it cuts the motor.
So do you run an alternator setup on this one?
Yeah, that's what the regulator rectifier is over this side.
Yep.
And it's whatever that generates the power is on that side of the engine, plugs into that. Yep. And then we've got the other two that come down here to feed the battery. That's what gives us the power.
Now, explain to me, do you have a bike that you need to push start?
Yes, no starter motor on this. Like I say, if it doesn't make it go fast, it's off. So starter motor normally would be where this regulator rectifier is.
Yep.
And that's gone, it's non-existent. So that actually fitted in nice and neatly in there, and that's where I wanted that. So obviously, of course, that starter motor had to go. So she's a push start, like a lot of your high performance things these days. So. this is, just remove the pre-filter. So you'll have normally you'll run a pre-filter over the actual main filter. So that'll all your bulk of your dust and your dirt will get captured by that. And this is, I've got a couple of these, and if it gets too dirty, I'll just swap that out, and that keeps that nice and fresh.
So that's where your actual carby setup is.
Carbies are directly underneath that. There's a 3mm aluminium plate there, which is bolted to the top of that, and then inside there you'll have 4 trumpets. I'll show you. Go one step further for you, and
And like we were just saying before, everything's neat and it has its place.
That's
Is
right.
that for serviceability?
yeah, serviceability, it keeps everything nice and neat. So you'll have your 4 trumpets there. There's down the throat of your carbies. That's how she rolls. Feed the beast. She loves it.